When I was in college, I got involved with ACES, American Indian Science and Engineering Society, and one year when I was involved with them, OLC sent me down to the ACES annual conference in Houston to do a presentation on um, a presentation for a student competition, and I did mine on links between ancient Lakota um, science or understanding or stories and modern science. It was a judge competition. There were two judges. One was um, a PhD, a physicist from NASA, a Japanese guy, and we kept in touch for a short while, but I can't remember his name now. He was real involved with NASA and the NSF and um, funding for our environmental science program up here. And the other judge was from a tribal college in Montana, from Salish Kootenai or Flathead, whatever it is they call it. And I gave my presentation on, I took 7 different um, pieces out of old Lakota stories, and I made comparisons. But like in the oldest story about how the earth was formed, it was in the beginning there was nothing but Ea, the rock, and then he opened himself up and he allowed um, stuff to flow out of him, and he made a disc on him, on his body, and that became the earth. And then he opened his veins up, and his blood flowed out, and it flowed into the low spots and the cracks and the earth he had just made, and that became the water. And then his spiritual power, it couldn't be contained once it was out of his body, came out with the blood and rose above the blood or the waters and became our atmosphere. And um, if you look at modern scientific belief, they say that water came from volcanoes, which means that water came from inside the rock or inside the earth, which lines up with that story. Pretty much every aspect of that story, there's a lot more to it. You know, if you're looking for it, you could find links with modern science. Even the formation of the sun, and what they call a whirling dust cloud, the same thing could be explained if you look at that old story, how Shkan created the sun from all elements from everything that existed here at that time. And even the hydrological cycle can be explained when you look at our old stories. Say that Wakia, the thunder beings, bring water to the earth, and they use the clouds like as blankets, and they camouflage themselves to hide themselves from Unk, and then they go down and they soak those blankets up with water. But then Unk discovers them, and as they're leaving with all that water, then she attacks the Wakia, and there's a big battle, and most of the water is lost in that battle. But then Wakia overcomes Ink, overcomes Unk, and then flies over the land and squeezes his blankets out to rain down um, on the earth here. There's a lot of others. I can't even remember everything that I said down there, but there's 2 points to this. One is that there's a lot of validity in old indigenous stories, but then the other thing is a problem that we have nowadays within our own people. This Japanese physicist from NASA gave me the highest score of any student in that competition. But that teacher from, I think it's called Salish Kootenai Community College, she gave me the lowest scores of anyone there. And she wasn't satisfied with that. A month later, she sent a letter to me in care of my college to explain why she gave me the lowest scores, and to tell me that there was my presentation had no validity. It had no purpose, no meaning. Just really tore down not only my presentation but also me on a personal level. It's bad enough that we have to deal with non-Indian people who look down on us and hate us, but even worse than that, we have even more passionate, more vile attacks from within our own people who hate us or hate themselves, hate where they come from. That's the main thing that's holding us back from mending our communities and getting our act back together, are these attacks by the colonized people within our own communities. And then right now, that's the majority of people in our communities have that mindset, at least to some degree. And also, during that presentation down there in Houston, the lady who was the Dean of Student Services or something like that from the School of Mines in Rapid was sitting in there, and she came up to me afterwards and had a long conversation with me and talked a lot about her husband and how the things that I was talking about would fit into physics, and tried to get me to take physics classes at the School of Mines, which I wasn't interested in, but it's kind of exasperating when you see that times like this, your enemies can respect you and are willing to listen to you, but your own relatives, your own people, ignore you or shoot you down. And then going back to this 2012 thing, I remember during Yellow Thunder Camp, this was a real big topic of discussion at that time. And the general consensus of all of us young people living there at that time was that, well, we know this is going to happen because there's a lot of stories, way beyond the Mayan calendar thing. There's a lot of stories from around here and from other native peoples that talk about this thing coming. Maybe they didn't say it would be December 21st, 2012, but they said it was coming and that there are things to look for to know that it was near. And then our belief at that time was that when this happens, the earth is going to turn over and it's going to swallow up all the white people and just leave the Indians here. But then now, after thinking about that for so long, I don't see it as being so black and white or red and white, like that. Because there are white people who respect the earth and who are living a good life, and there are Indian people, the majority of Indian people today, that are not living a good life, that don't respect the earth, that don't believe in the things that the Creator gave to us and taught to us. And then on top of that, we're so reliant on social assistance and Walmart that if it comes down to just those who can live off the land and survive in those times, then the right-wing redneck white people are more likely to survive, and the majority of Indians aren't going to be able to make it. So there's a lot of thinking that needs to go on about this whole native identity and 2012 and living in harmony with the earth. Along those kind of lines, a lot of things Indian people need to be thinking about. Now here it is, spring 2012, maybe it's too late to make changes and too late to think about it, but we should at least give it a try. And even if nothing happens in December 2012, at least if you've realigned yourself to live in harmony with the earth and in harmony with the original instructions that the Creator gave us, even if life as it is now goes on beyond 2013, at least you'll be living a better life, a more healthy life. There's no reason not to try and make these changes, but there's every reason in the world to make these changes. just something for people to think about. I know not very many people listen to these videos, and my ideas are so different and so out there from other people, and then myself, I've been tore down so many times by my own people that probably not very many people beyond my horses who listen to me anymore, but I have um, an undeniable urge inside of me to try and put this stuff out there for some reason. And so that's why I'm putting these videos online. Maybe it'll help somebody, or at least give you a different perspective of things. I don't know why someone should need someone else to give them a reason to live in harmony with the earth and to obey the original instructions of our Creator. But I guess that's just a state that we're in these days. Nobody can do good without some kind of prompting or some kind of fear to push them in the right direction.